Daily Devotionals with open hearts and open minds. First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado presents Hope and Coffee with Pastor Hugo Venegas.
Hi, welcome back to another week of Hope and Coffee. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a very joyful day. I know I am. And we're coming back to Genesis, and we're studying chapter 6 all the way to chapters 12. And we're talking about the faces of hope. And let me review what we have seen. We have seen that the faces of hope, number one, is righteousness, walking with God, obedience, that in the process we get tested. And this past week we talked about the seeds of peace. Now, what we're going to talk about this week is about patience. Patience is another face of hope. And I want us to go to Genesis chapter 7, and we're going to read in verses 17 all the way to the end of the chapter, which is verse 24. And it says here in verse 17, chapter 7 of Genesis, "For 40 days the flood kept coming on earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face and the surface of the water. They rose greatly in earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to the depth of more than 20 feet. Every living thing that moved on earth perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swam over the earth, and all mankind, everything on dry land that had breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out, men and animals, and all creatures that move along the ground, and the birds of the air were wiped out from the earth. Noah was left, and those with him. The waters flooded the earth 150 days. Now, I want to ask a question so that we can understand the context of patience. How long was Noah in the ark? Now, some people think that Noah was in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights. That's not what the text says. The text says it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to give you a homework. This week I'm going to give you a lot of homework. The first one is I need you to find out, and you can just Google it if you're smart, how many days was Noah in the ark? Now, it took a lot of patience for him being locked up in that ark, because a lot of us think that it was 40 days. Now, look at what it says in verse 24. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. 150 days. But I'm going to give you a clue. That's not how long Noah was in the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. I mean, 150 days. That's almost 5 months, folks. And he was in that ark, and it takes a lot of patience for us to be locked up. I mean, one of the things that we're facing in our culture is that people are pent up now that we're starting to lift the social restrictions, and we're going out. But people are very impatient. I think one definition of patience is divinely inspired, because the primal response of human beings is we want things right now. We want things right now. We want to get out right now. And I don't know if you remember during Memorial Weekend, on Memorial Day, they lifted some of the restrictions down in Missouri, and people just went on Memorial Day. They went to a water park at Ozark, and they started flooding the place, and there was a young man who was eager to swim, and he told his friends, "I'm going to swim. I don't care about COVID-19. And a week later, he tested positive for the virus because he was so eager to go swimming. He did not practice social distancing. He did not practice what he was supposed to do, and he contracted the virus. And I don't know if you heard also that in Arkansas, there was a little church, and they had told the people that they needed to practice social distancing. They told them that there shouldn't be any singing in the service. And the people in this little church, they said, oh, we're not going to listen to that. It's time for us to get together and worship. And they got together and they started singing and worshiping God. And I think over 36 people from that church contracted the virus. And 4 members of the church have died because they were too impatient. They were too eager to get back and have fellowship and have a fun time in the church, which there's nothing wrong with that. But we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and there's no cure for COVID-19. And people are getting impatient, and we're seeing it with people running around all the streets, the cities, and there is a lot of impatience. And we haven't been locked up for more than 3 months yet. In some parts, they have, a little bit more. In New York, they're just letting all the restrictions lifting because they have been locked up for 3 months. So imagine Noah and that ark. And remember, your homework is you have to find out how long was Noah locked up in the ark, because it takes patience. And I'm telling you that the first definition is patience is divinely inspired. That we need to wait on God, that God is the one that needs to tell us when the time is ripe for us to go out. And Noah had to wait for God to tell him, all right, Noah, it's time for you to go out of the ark. This is Hugo Venegas. God bless you, and look forward to joining you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us for our daily devotional, Hope and Coffee, with Pastor Hugo Venegas. If you enjoyed today's devotion, like or subscribe below. We also welcome you to join our family at First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado. You can visit our website at firstumcpueblo.org, and we hope you continue to have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.